the
Society
show featuring Christian Patterson.
Our
clip
is
Ben Shapiro.
These are facts.
Ben Shapiro.
Facts don't care about your feelings.
Ben Shapiro, you're followed by millions of people
10 million fireflies
online and on social media. You're one of the biggest names in American conservatism.
the biggest conclave of conservatives in America.
What is it you think you're tapping into?
Well, I think that there are a couple of things. One, there is actually a hunger for
great American food.
different ideas.
monstrous.
Monstrous?
Ideas.
The monolithic nature of the United States media
You are fake news.
is pretty evident in terms of its politics. People tend to agree on essentially the liberal point of view,
liberal principles like freedom of speech.
and increasingly a radical leftist
bourgeoisie, then that's it. That's the end of them.
point of view in the media. And obviously I speak
the drink lemonade and speak real slow
in response to that. At the same time, I try to provide an honest take on the issues of the day, and that means that I am not beholden to the Republican Party, for example. It means that I am going to speak out whenever I think that a principle is being violated, just no matter who is doing the violation.
Calling all the basic bitches.
You worked for the right-wing Breitbart
Coke habit.
website, but you left
Get out right now. It's the end of you and me.
over its support for Donald Trump.
I hate to say they're jealous, but perhaps they are.
And I think you said you'd never vote for Mr. Trump.
I'd prefer drinking to a straw if I'm going out to a restaurant.
Why is that?
Why are you running? Why are you running?
Well, in 2015, 2016, the Breitbart made a hard turn
Turn the friggin' frogs gay.
in favor of one particular candidate, and that's their prerogative. Lots of publications have an editorial point of view, and Breitbart was one of those.
Hey now.
Haven't you lost your battle for the Republican Party, though? Isn't the Republican Party now the party of Trump?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I mean, I think that the Republican Party is always the party of whomever is the president, technically speaking, but in terms of who are the sort of the thought leaders
There's an idea revolution happening right now.
inside the conservative movement, who are the people
People of Earth, how are you?
who are driving
when we drive in your car.
a lot of the discussion
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
inside the conservative movement. I don't think that's correct at all.
Well, that would be your opinion. I'd have to beg to differ.
It's also fact.
It's not.
I think that most Republicans see President Trump as a vehicle
When we drive in your car.
for their policy preferences, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they agree with all of his personal foibles or the way that he behaves or the things that he says.
They lied. They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none.
And I think a lot of Republicans respond in anger
Now I can't forget you and it makes me mad.
to the media attacking President Trump mainly out of a reactionary and half appropriate
So why do good girls like bad guys? I had this question for a real long time. I've been a bad boy and it's plain.
upset that the media seem to have a double standard when it comes to covering certain politicians.
I'm interested that you think there's a thought movement
Your brain gets smart, but your head gets dumb.
inside the Republican Party. I mean, haven't the conservatives run out of ideas in America?
My brain is still in recovery mode from taking in so many high-level important ideas.
All the new policies, the Medicare for all,
Healthcare is the leading cause of bankruptcy.
$15 minimum wage,
How much are we getting paid to do this?
Just a little bit.
the Green New Deal.
So here's the deal.
They're all coming from the left, and they're popular.
Well,
I'm sexy, I'm cute, I'm popular to boot.
frankly, I'm confused by the idea
Now I wonder.
that any of those are particularly new ideas. I mean, most of those ideas have been around since Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
You're saying it weird. Why are you putting so much emphasis on the H? What are you talking about? I'm just saying it. Cool Whip. You put Cool Whip on pie. Pie tastes better with Cool Whip.
At the very earliest, or at the very latest, rather. Some of them go all the way back to Woodrow Wilson. But the idea that new ideas are absent in the Republican Party is obviously untrue. We have a very strong debate.
Frank, didn't I used to talk about his hands?
Who the hell did you ever mention his hands to?
I mentioned his hands to plenty of people.
You never mentioned it to me.
That goes on inside sort of the conservative halls of intelligentsia.
Conservative halls of intelligentsia. Conservative halls of intelligentsia.
Your brain gets smart, but your head gets dumb.
Discovering something that doesn't exist, or giving a monkey a shower.
About what is the appropriate action to take with regard to the medical system.
When the revolution comes, you can bloody well be sure that your head's going to be first on the chopping block.
Should global warming be considered a real threat?
Yes.
Or should global warming be considered something that technology will solve? And if so, what are the best aspects of solving that?
We have been sold this meme.
Now, there's a rich intellectual debate on.
That's actually a common misconception. The paradigm inherent to the postmodernist fallacy of a priori knowledge stems from a systemic predilection to binary dichotomies.
On the right, about nationalism versus patriotism, for example, or populism versus free marketeerism. That debate is happening on the right to sort of suggest that yeah, boy, the right in America is bereft of ideas, but the left is full of ideas.
My brain is still in recovery mode from taking in so many high-level important ideas.
Number one, yeah, boy, not all ideas are good ideas. I mean, AOC is pretty good evidence of that.
Timmy, give your meat a good old rub. That's it. Nice and hot.
I'm a big fan of some old ideas myself that I think are pretty good.
I always search good in bad. I also search bad in good.
But
I like big butts and I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny.
Beyond that, I think that it is intellectual sneering of the highest order to suggest that only the left has new and decent ideas.
Want to run all night, want to run all day.
Some of the ideas that are popular in your...
My brain is still in recovery mode from taking in so many high-level important ideas.
...side of politics would seem to take us back to the Dark Ages.
I'm gonna get medieval on your asses.
Georgia.
You come from Georgia where the peaches grow. They drink lemonade and speak real slow.
New abortion laws, which you are much in favor of, that a woman who miscarries could get 30 years. A Georgian woman who travels to another state for an abortion procedure could get 10 years. These are extreme hard policies.
Round one, fight.
Well, okay. A couple of things. One, I'm not sure. I mean, frankly, I don't know whether are you an objective journalist or are you an opinion journalist?
You are fake news.
I'm a journalist that asks questions.
Every time you create something new, there should be questions. And to me, that's a sign that you've actually done something.
Okay, so you're a supposedly objective journalist calling policies with which you disagree barbaric.
I'm gonna get medieval on your asses.
And suggesting only one side of the political aisle has ideas. So I just want to point out that,
I know that
I wish you would at least be honest in your own biases.
Mr.
So,
Get the fuck out of my room and play Minecraft!
I know
are you a member of the...
in America is now so polarized.
You know, we're living in a society.
On one program, you only have the left.
The
Society
show featuring
Christian
Patterson.
And another one, you just have the right.
The mainstream media continues to spoon-feed the masses soundbite clickbait.
My job is to question those who have strong views and put an alternative to them. If you were an anti-abortion person, I would be putting pro-abortion questions to you. But you are
really, would you call the pro-choice position?
So why don't you
let me
just
ask
answer
this.
my question?
Sir, I'm happy to answer your question. Please answer this one.
Every time you flap your lips, there's another brain cell fizzing out. I swear on my senpai that I will knock you out. You swing your hips and pop your lips and think you're being sly. When you hide your precious feelings about loving senpai. Do you even really love him? You don't act like you do.
Would you suggest
you would not believe your eyes
that a late-term abortion is brutal?
Killtrocity.
I'm not taking a view on this issue. I'm asking you the questions.
Sir, you just suggested that the pro-life position is inherently brutal and terrible, so I'm asking you, as an objective journalist, would you ask the same question to a pro-choice advocate by calling their position brutal and horrible?
What I'm asking you is that why is it that a bill banning abortions after a woman has been pregnant for 6 weeks is not a return to the Dark Ages? What's your answer?
Round two, fight.
My answer is something called science. Facts don't care about your feelings.
I tend to be too logical for my own good.
Human life...
Cut my life into pieces. This is my last resort. Suffocation, no breathing. Don't give a fuck if I cut my arm bleeding.
Exists at conception.
Nope.
Not going to work.
And it ought to be protected. Now, back to my question to you. You purport to be an objective journalist. BBC purports to be an objective down-the-middle network. It obviously is not. It never has been. And you, as a journalist, are proceeding to call one side of the political aisle ignorant, barbaric, and sending us back to the Dark Ages.
People add extra words when they want things to sound more important than they really are.
Why don't you just say that you're on the left? You're on the left. You're on the left. You're on the left. You're on the left. You're on the left.
It's the gulag for you.
Is this so hard for you? Why can't you just be honest?
Makes me laugh.
Mr.
Seriously,
Shapiro,
it's a serious question.
Why so serious?
Mr. Shapiro, if you only knew how ridiculous that statement is, you wouldn't have said it. So let's move on.
Go on, leave, get out.
Would you vote
I
for
think it's
Mr.
pretty evident from your own questions exactly what you are, sir.
Trump?
That's okay. We're just going to tariff your nation. We're going to tariff you. Either you're going to agree or not.
Would you vote for Mr. Trump in 2020?
I'd certainly consider voting for Mr. Trump in 2020, just like I'd consider voting for anybody else in 2020.
But didn't you once say that you'd never vote for him?
I said that I wouldn't vote for him in 2016. And then I wrote a column for National Review explaining the conditions under which I might change my mind.
Or am I so sane that you just blew your mind?
You're a culture war warrior.
And that whole identity politics game, that is dangerous beyond belief.
Isn't he largely on your side? You wrote once it was unlikely he'd appoint conservative judges.
Oh my.
To the Supreme Court. He has.
Right.
So you were wrong.
I like many of President Trump's policies, even if I still have serious reservations about his personality and character.
And it feels like you don't care anymore.
Do you think there's a Democrat that could beat him in 2020?
The Democrats have done nothing.
Sure, I think there are several Democrats who could beat him in 2020.
Who would have the best chance?
I think that Joe Biden is likeliest to beat him, considering that he has significant appeal in a lot of the Rust Belt, in places like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, the places that President Trump needs to win to retain the presidency. And Joe Biden also has a long history in politics, which means that the American people already have sort of a preconceived vision.
Now you see me, now you're dead.
Of him. President Trump, as a campaigner, is very good at dragging unknowns through the mud.
It's blood sport for him. He enjoys it, and I'm glad he's happy about it.
Or at exposing details about people that are previously sort of covered up.
I'm not here doing anything but opening the blinds to wake people up. And you don't like the light, do you?
But when it comes to Joe Biden, he's been well exposed for a very long time. Most people know him.
I know him. I know him.
And he's not nearly as unpopular even going in as Hillary Clinton was in 2016.
Pokemon go to the polls.
So if it was a close race between Mr. Biden and Mr. Trump, you would, from what you say, I think, probably go for Mr. Trump.
Yes, I would vote for Mr. Trump if it were a race between Biden and Trump, because I think that the damage that President Trump has done to the country on a character and rhetorical level has already been done and cannot be undone. I don't see it as getting worse day by day. That is the new status quo, unfortunately.
Sorry, I can't be perfect.
Now the question becomes,
And what the hell is on Joey said?
And Trump's policy preferences are closer to my own than Joe Biden's are.
I like them all.
Now, you're a star of new media, of conservative new media. You and others...
Monstrous.
Monstrous?
Ideas.
Position yourselves as supposed tellers of hard truths.
I'm a truth finder.
But haven't you all just really coarsened public discourse in America and exacerbated its divisions?
Final round. Fight!
You know, it's kind of odd to be hearing about me coarsening public discourse when you call policies you disagree with brutal and bringing us back to the Dark Ages, sir.
You're right, sweetie. I'm not cute. I'm drop dead gorgeous.
The point, I don't want to return to it, but the point was to put a position for you to reply to it.
Last time I talked to you.
And I thought we'd covered that.
That's...
Well, I'll put some of the points to it, because on your
characterization of issues is part of the problem in the coarsening of public debate.
Well, maybe it's also part of your problem, too, because we have from your YouTube videos, Ben Shapiro destroys the abortion argument.
Killing spree.
Ben Shapiro destroys transgenderism.
Kill-tacular.
And abortion.
Kill-trocity.
Is that not a kind of coarse public discourse?
Hill-occupied.
Well, are those videos labeled by me?
I have no idea. But
why are you picking out? Why are you? I have a question. Why are you picking out random YouTube videos put up by people who are not me?
Hill contested.
Are you
and then attributing the titles to me?
Are you unhappy with the way they've been described?
I think that people can describe me however they please. It's a free country, and I'm
liberal principles like freedom of speech.
All in favor of a public debate. If you watch the actual clips, They are generally civil conversations between me and somebody who disagrees with me.
You say in your new book, you suggest that America's largest struggle at the moment is, quote, the struggle for our national soul.
Sweet like candy to my soul.
We are so angry at each other right now.
Singers that are mad at their dad.
And I think that's true. I've just returned from the United States. But aren't you part of the problem with the way you go about your discourse, not the solution?
Yes. I think we can all do better in our discourse, but the fact that I've reached out to so many people across the aisle to have conversations with them is pretty evident. The fact that I was willing to walk from a publication that was paying me money. One eternity later. At least for a civil conversation.
Well, as you say in your book, you say that there's quite a key phrase, we are so angry at each other right now.
Now I can't forget you and it makes me mad.
But as I say, aren't you part of that anger? Aren't you encouraging that anger? For example, you described Mr. Obama's
I'm sick and tired of Barack Obama blaming my brother for all of the problems that he's had.
State of the Union address in 2012 as fascist mentality in action.
The authoritarians who want to control us so that they can have us silenced.
Well, I think that if you want to argue with the characterization, then we can talk about what exactly his State of the Union address said.
So baby, don't worry, you are my only.
Is it charged language in politics? Sure. The problem that I have is not with charged language in politics, which I'm generally in favor of. I like a robust,
real thick and juicy
public debate and a very loud and spirited public debate. I have no problem with that whatsoever. What I'm talking about is the assumption that people with whom we disagree politically are inherently of bad character or, in your words, want to bring us back to the dark ages.
But again, it was your description of the State of the Union address in 2012 as fascist.
The wording of President Trump's 2012 address was bad and wrong.
Bad to the bone. Bad to the bone. Bad.
That's all. There are plenty of things that are bad and wrong, but it doesn't make them fascist.
Well, I suppose that's true. But if you would like to, again, if you'd like to read me the column out loud, I suppose I can critique it for you.
Oh, well, again, with Mr. Obama, you said, and you're Jewish yourself. I only mention that because to put this in context. The Jews who vote for Obama are, by and large, Jews in name only. Ginos, you call them.
My statement was based on the fact that Jews in the United States, as an ethnic group, are largely irreligious, which is true by every single poll. Jews are the most irreligious group in the United States. As an Orthodox Jew who actually takes Judaism seriously, the point that I am making is that most Jews who are ethnically Jewish are not religiously Jewish in any context.
No. The point you were making is that Jews who vote for Obama are Jews in name only.
I said that, yes.
Yes.
Oh, my. That is correct. That Jews who voted for Barack Obama, a progenitor of the Iran deal.
I'm sick and tired of Barack Obama blaming my brother for all of the problems that he's had.
A person who was cracking down on religious liberty.
Kumbaya, my Lord. Kumbaya. Kumbaya, my Lord. Kumbaya.
A person who spent much of his career as president of the United States attempting to deprive Israel of the necessities to defend itself.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
That people, Jews who voted for President Obama, by and large, cared about Judaism far less than they did about other priorities.
Did you said they should turn their badge in as a Jew? Their badge in as a Jew.
Yes.
Whoa. Turn their badge in as a Jew.
Yes. Yes.
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
I believe that if you are somebody who takes Judaism seriously,
why so serious?
That comes along with ideological commitment.
I mean, I guess.
Also, I hope you're having fun by the way, going through every old tweet.
I'm sitting there tweeting, bing, bing, bing,
that I've ever sent to try and do gotcha questions. But if you'd like to have a discussion about my general philosophy or things I've done in, say, I don't know, that's 2012, so it's now 2019. If you'd like to discuss something I've done in, say, like the past 5 years, why don't we do that? How about that?
Creaming over tough guy.
Because your book is a criticism of...
I'm not saying go to the library and read the whole history, but it wouldn't kill you to know a little bit about it.
How angry America is and how America has to do better. And I'm simply
I have an entire list on my website, sir. Sir, on my list I have an entire website of dumb, bad things that I've said.
I'm simply trying to point out some of the things you've said that seem to me to help to stoke that anger. For example, you said Israelis like to build, Arabs like to bomb crap.
Bomb. Armed.
They were constantly crapping on themselves.
And live in open sewage.
Yes, indeed, boo. Yes, indeed, hiss.
Well, as I say in an article entitled, here's a list of all the giant, bad, dumb things I've ever said.
Was that dumb?
Well, yes, that's a dumb tweet.
Yes, we all agree.
And not only, but it is also important to mention that the next few tweets clarify that that tweet is specifically referring to the Hamas leadership, which, by the way, a BBC I've seen is relatively reticent to condemn.
No, actually, it wasn't.
Nope, not going to work.
What you went on to do and say, you are correct about the slur on Arabs. It's not all Arabs that want to live in open sewage and blow things up.
Finish him.
It's just Palestinians.
Got him.
You went on to say.
It's just the ones who take sides against Israel in the Israel-Palestinian
Arab population is rotten to the core.
Bad to the bone. Bad to the bone. Bad.
You went on to say.
What you say?
Not Hamas. The Palestinian Arab population.
I say that by poll numbers, they elected Hamas.
The ballots are in, and one girl had to win.
They elected Hamas. They educate their children in school that Israel should be obliterated, sir.
I guess.
If you want to read, honestly, this is a giant waste of time.
You're a waste. You're a waste.
In the sense that the entire interview is designed for you to shout slogans or old things that I've said at me.
People will do anything for a fucking like, and it doesn't mean a fucking single thing. It doesn't mean shit.
I don't see how this forwards the debate. You talk about undermining the public discourse. It seems to me that simply going through and finding lone things that sound bad out of context. These are facts. These are facts. And then hitting people with them is a way for you to make a quick buck.
Would you believe when I was 18, I had a silver dollar collection?
On BBC off the fact that I'm popular.
I'm sexy. I'm cute. I'm popular to boot.
And no one has ever heard of you.
All right, David, I do have a real job. This is my real job, all right?
There are not many bucks to be made on the BBC, unlike American broadcasting, Mr. Shapiro. The point I'm trying to make is that your words are hardly designed to produce the consensus and understanding that the book seems to want to produce. That's my point, that you write about, Judeo-Christian culture and so on, but so much of what you've said in the past would seem to turn its back on Judeo-Christian culture.
You're lecturing me on Judeo-Christian culture after you call the pro-life position barbaric?
I just asked you a question.
I was just trying to ask you where's the bus stop.
And I asked you a question. You failed to answer a single one of mine. Frankly, I find this whole thing a waste of time.
You're a waste. You're a waste.
If you want to read the book and critique the book, why don't you read and critique the book? If you want to critique me, you can think whatever you want of me.
Why don't you
frankly,
just try and
I don't
answer
care.
the
I don't frankly give a damn what you think of me since I've never heard of you.
All the girlies say I'm pretty fly for a white guy.
And I've never heard of you until I briefed myself for this, but that's not the issue. You have a new book out.
Then why the hell are you interviewing me, sir?
It's an interesting book. But my point is, your book claims that
society... Well, it'd be nice if you would quote it from time to time.
Your book is... Well, actually, I've done so several times, and I'm about to do so again, if you would let me just finish the question. Your book claims that society is turning its back on Judeo-Christian values.
Yeah,
what are those values? What are the values it's turning its back on?
I'm not inclined to continue an interview with a person as badly motivated as you as an interviewer. So I think we're done here. I appreciate your time.
Finish him.
All right. Well, thank you for your time and for showing that anger is not part of American political discourse. Now, Mr. Shapiro, we'll say goodbye.
Thank you for
listening,
folks.